I'm Audrey Crawford. I'm 32 years old. 2 months ago, on Thanksgiving night, in front of 30 relatives, my parents handed my sister a $13,000 luxury cruise package. Then they gave me a crumpled $2 lottery ticket, smiling like it was a joke everyone was in on. "This is all that's appropriate for your situation, Audrey," my mother said, her voice loud enough for the entire dining room to hear. Everyone laughed. Every single one of them. What they didn't know was that this tiny ticket would change everything. $100 million changes everything, but not in the way you might expect. Before I go on, if this story pulls you in, take a moment to like and subscribe, only if you genuinely want to come along for the ride. And tell me where you're watching from and what time it is there. I always love knowing where new friends are tuning in from around the world. Now let me take you back to 2 months ago, to Thanksgiving night, the night everything started to fall apart. Thanksgiving at the Crawford house was always a performance. Not the warm, cozy kind you see in holiday movies, but a carefully staged production where everyone knew their role and played it well. I pulled into my parents' driveway at exactly 5 o'clock, carrying a homemade autumn salad and a bouquet of dahlias I had grown myself. The flowers were a deep burgundy, perfect for the season. I'd spent 3 months nurturing them. My mother opened the door before I could knock. "Oh. Audrey." Her eyes flicked to the bouquet and then away. "Still playing with plants, I see." Before I could respond, I heard squealing from inside. Vivian had arrived. My mother rushed past me with her arms wide open. "There's my girl. That dress is stunning. Is it new?" I stood frozen in the doorway, flowers in hand, watching her hug my sister like they hadn't seen each other in years. It had been 2 weeks. Inside, the house buzzed with relatives, aunts, uncles, cousins I barely recognized. My dad sat in his leather recliner, deep in conversation with Marcus, my brother-in-law. He didn't stand when I walked in. He barely looked at me. "Audrey." "Good. You're here," he said, still focused on Marcus. "We need help setting the table." Of course I was here to work. The living room had formed a semicircle around Marcus as he talked about his latest real estate consulting deal. Everyone leaned in, hanging on his every word. I knew better. Marcus was slippery. I'd always felt it. I just didn't have proof, only instinct. Across the room, Aunt Marlene caught my eye and gave me a small, sad smile. Later, alone in the dining room, I folded napkins while my mother introduced me to a distant cousin. "This is Audrey, my younger daughter," she said. "She does gardening. I think something with plants." I looked up. "Landscape architecture," I corrected gently. "I design green spaces for corporate buildings." My mother waved her hand dismissively. "Same thing, dear." I went back to folding napkins. Some battles aren't worth fighting. Not yet. I was refilling the water pitcher when I heard them. The kitchen door was slightly ajar, and their voices drifted out, Mom, Dad, and Vivian, speaking in that low, conspiratorial tone families use when they think no one else is listening. "The cruise leaves December 15th, Mom was saying. 2 weeks in the Caribbean. The whole family. You, Marcus, the kids, your father and me, even Grandma Grace, if she's feeling well enough." My hand froze on the pitcher handle. "What about Audrey?" Vivian asked. There was no concern in her voice, just a casual acknowledgement that I existed. There was a pause. Then Dad cleared his throat. "She's busy with work. Besides, a trip like this is expensive. We don't want to burden her." They hadn't asked if I was busy. They hadn't asked if I could afford it. They had simply decided I wasn't worth including. I pushed the door open. "I'm not invited." 3 faces turned toward me. Mom's smile tightened. Dad suddenly found his coffee cup fascinating. "Sweetheart," Mom began, "this trip is to celebrate Marcus's promotion. It's really more of a family thing." "I get it," I finished for her. "It's not about me." "It's not about you, Audrey," Vivian added, her voice smooth and sugary. We just didn't think you'd be interested. You're always so independent. Independent. The word they used when they really meant outsider. I was about to respond when I noticed movement behind me. Grandma Grace stood in the hallway, her frail hand gripping her walker. Her eyes met mine, sharp, knowing, filled with something I couldn't quite name. She reached out and squeezed my hand without saying a word. In that silence, I felt seen. Audrey, help your grandmother sit down, Mom said briskly, already turning away. She shouldn't be standing so long. As Grandma Grace shuffled off, she looked back at me. Her lips moved silently. Call Thomas Smith this week. I didn't understand then. But I would. Soon, I would understand everything. The dining room fell quiet when Dad stood and tapped his wine glass with a fork. Before we eat, I want to thank everyone for being here. He smiled, the polished smile of a man who had spent his life selling used cars. Family is everything. 30 people nodded in agreement. I counted 30 witnesses to what came next. This year, Patricia and I wanted to do something special for our daughters. He gestured toward Vivian. Vivian, sweetheart, come here. Vivian glided forward, all elegance and designer heels. Mom handed her a thick envelope, beaming. For you, Marcus, and the kids. A 14-day Caribbean cruise. First class. The room exploded, applause, gasps, delighted murmurs. Vivian burst into tears, the pretty kind, the kind that look good in photos. Oh my God. Thank you. She wrapped her arms around both of our parents. This is too much. $13,000. I knew because I'd seen the itinerary on Mom's computer last month. I wasn't supposed to, but I had. Then Mom turned to me. The applause faded, and the room grew quiet. Audrey, honey, come here. I stepped forward on unsteady, wooden legs. Mom pressed a thin envelope into my hands. Inside was a single slip of paper. A lottery ticket. Mega Millions. $2. This is what suits your situation, dear. Her smile never reached her eyes. Who knows? Maybe luck will finally find you. Someone snickered. Then another laugh followed. Marcus leaned back in his chair, smirking. Luck's a long shot when you don't have the brains to back it up. Laughter rippled through the room. Vivian covered her mouth, giggling. Oh, that's so cute, Mom. Maybe she'll win $5. I stared down at the ticket in my hand. My face burned, but somewhere deeper inside me, something shifted, cracked, broke loose. I smiled. Thank you, Mom. I'm sure this will be exactly what I deserve. No one noticed the edge in my voice. But I did. The laughter was still echoing when a voice cut through the room. Gerald. Patricia. This is not right. Everyone turned. Grandma Grace stood at the edge of the room, her small frame trembling as she stood without her walker. Her voice was thin, but it carried. You cannot treat Audrey this way. Not in front of everyone. Not ever. The silence that followed was different, heavier, more uncomfortable. No one had expected the family matriarch to speak. Dad's jaw tightened. Mother, please. I am not finished. But Mom was already moving, her heels clicking sharply against the hard wood. She slipped an arm around Grandma Grace with practiced efficiency. You're tired, Mom. Let me take you to lie down. Patricia, I'm not. The doctor said you need rest. Come on. I watched helplessly as my mother steered my grandmother toward the guest room. Grandma Grace glanced back at me over her shoulder. Our eyes met. She nodded once, slow and deliberate. Then her gaze shifted, just slightly, toward her old leather handbag resting on the armchair by the window, the one she always carried, the one no one was ever allowed to touch. The door closed behind them. The room exhaled. Conversations resumed. The moment passed as if it had never happened. But I noticed Aunt Marlene watching me from across the room. Her face was pale. She looked like she wanted to say something, then thought better of it. I excused myself and went to the bathroom. I locked the door and stared at my reflection. The lottery ticket was still crumpled in my fist. $2. That's what they thought I was worth. But Grandma had said something. Thomas Smith. A lawyer. Why would my grandmother, who had no lawsuits, no legal trouble, want me to call a lawyer? I didn't know yet. But something in my gut told me I was about to find out. It was nearly midnight when I started cleaning up alone, as usual. Most of the guests had already left. Vivian and Marcus had retreated to the living room, excitedly planning their cruise wardrobe. My parents were busy seeing off the last relatives. I was collecting dishes from Dad's study when I saw them. Papers were scattered across his desk, like he'd rushed out in a hurry, overdue bills stamped in red, a letter from a collection agency, and beneath it all, a document that made my blood run cold. A loan agreement. Signed by my father. Co-signed by Marcus Pierce. $180,000. The interest rate was predatory, the kind you only see from people who operate in the shadows. My hands shook as I turned the page. It was worse. Collateral documents for Grandma Grace's house. The house she'd lived in for 50 years. The house where my mother grew up. The house that was supposed to be Grandma's until the day she died. There was her signature, shaky, uneven, dated 6 months earlier. The same month she'd fallen and spent 2 weeks in the hospital, heavily medicated for pain. They had made her sign when she wasn't herself. I pulled out my phone. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I photographed everything, page after page. I didn't know what I was going to do with the pictures. I didn't have a plan. But I understood something now. The favoritism had never been about love. It wasn't about Vivian being the golden child. I was the threat. I was the one who might ask questions, who might notice when things didn't add up. They needed me small, silent, invisible. That's why I got a $2 lottery ticket. I slipped out the back door, photos saved, my mind racing. For the first time in my life, I wasn't going to stay quiet. 1 week after Thanksgiving, I called Aunt Marlene. She answered on the second ring. Audrey. Aunt Marlene, I need to ask you something. Is Dad in serious debt? Silence. Long and heavy. You know something, don't you? I pressed. How did you find out? I saw papers at the house. A loan agreement. With Marcus. Audrey, she whispered, her voice dropping. Don't talk about this on the phone. Why not? Because there are things you don't know yet. About Marcus. About your father. My grip tightened around the phone. What things? Not here. Not like this. Meet me Saturday. The coffee shop on Elm Street. 2 o'clock. Aunt Marlene, please. And Audrey, she added, hesitating. Don't trust anything Marcus tells you. He's not who he pretends to be. The line went dead. I sat alone in my apartment, staring at the lottery ticket on my kitchen counter. I'd forgotten about it since Thanksgiving. It had been sitting there, crumpled and ignored, just like me. Maybe it was time to check the numbers. I opened the Mega Millions app, entered the numbers, and watched the little loading wheel spin. The first number matched. My heart skipped. The second number matched. I stopped breathing. Third number. Fourth. Fifth. All 6. I refreshed the app. Same result. I went to the official website. Same numbers. Same result. $100 million. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just sat there, perfectly still, for what felt like hours. Then I did the first thing that came to mind. I Googled lottery winner what to do first. And then I remembered Grandma Grace's words. Thomas Smith. It was time to make that call. I didn't tell anyone. Not a single soul. For 3 days, I moved through my life like a ghost wearing human skin. I went to work, answered emails, smiled at clients, all while carrying a 9-figure secret in my pocket. Every time my phone buzzed with a message from Mom or Vivian, I felt nothing. The number that would eventually appear in my bank account was larger than anything they could imagine. But that wasn't what consumed me. It was the power, not over them, but over myself. For 32 years, I'd been invisible. An afterthought. The gardener. Now I had options they couldn't take away. I didn't call my parents. I didn't call Vivian. I didn't post on social media or buy a sports car or do any of the things lottery winners are supposed to do. Instead, I called Thomas Smith. "Miss Crawford," he said, his voice warm but professional. "Your grandmother told me you might reach out." "She told me to call you," I said. "I don't know why. Perhaps you should come to my office. There are some matters we need to discuss." "About the lottery." He paused. "You've won something." "Yes," I said. 100 million. Another pause. Longer this time. "Then we definitely need to talk," he said. "But, Miss Crawford, the matters your grandmother wanted me to discuss with you existed before any lottery. They concern her estate. And her house." My stomach dropped. "Her house. It's better if I show you in person. Can you come tomorrow?" "Yes." "And Miss Crawford," he added gently, "don't mention this call to anyone in your family." "Not yet." I hung up and stared at my reflection in the dark phone screen. The lottery ticket had given me money. But Thomas Smith was about to give me something far more valuable. The truth. Thomas Smith's office smelled like old books and expensive leather. He was older than I'd expected, early 60s, with silver hair and kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. The kind of lawyer who still believed in doing things the right way. "Please, sit," he said, gesturing to a chair across from his mahogany desk. Saturday, what did my grandmother want you to tell me?" He slid a folder across the desk. 10 years ago, he said, your grandmother established a trust fund in your name." I stared at him. "A trust fund?" "Yes. $500,000. The room tilted. "What?" I whispered. "I never knew," he continued gently. "She wanted it that way. She was afraid." "Afraid of what?" His expression softened. "Afraid your mother would find a way to take it from you." My hands trembled as I opened the folder. Legal documents. Bank statements. All of it was real. "There's more," he said gently. "The house. Your grandmother's house." "I saw the papers," I said. "My father cashed it in." He nodded. "The deed was signed 6 months ago, the day after your grandmother was hospitalized. She was heavily medicated, barely coherent." I felt nauseous. "That's fraud." "Potentially," he agreed. "The signature is shaky. The timing is suspicious. But proving coercion is difficult without witnesses. She didn't know what she was signing. I don't believe she did either." He leaned forward. "Ms. Crawford, your father owes Marcus Pierce $180,000. The house was collateral," he continued. "If your father defaults, Marcus gets the property." Everything clicked into place, the favoritism, the exclusion, the $2 lottery ticket. I was never supposed to find out. "What can I do?" I asked. "With your resources now, you have options," he said calmly. "We can challenge the deed. We can pay off the debt and remove the lien. We can protect your grandmother." I looked down at the trust fund paperwork. $500,000 from Grandma Grace. 100 million from a crumpled lottery ticket. "Let's protect her," I said. "Now, let me pause here for a moment. I know what you're thinking. Audrey, what are you going to do? Are you going to get revenge?" But this isn't a revenge story. This is a story about truth. If you want to know what happens next, let me know in the comments. Have you ever been treated unfairly by your own family? Hit the like button if you're on my side. Now let me tell you what Aunt Marlene revealed. The coffee shop was nearly empty when Aunt Marlene arrived. She looked different than she had at Thanksgiving, older somehow, worn down. She slid into the booth across from me, clutching her purse like a lifeline. "Thank you for meeting me," I said. "I should have said something years ago," she whispered. "But Patricia, you know how she is. Tell me about Marcus." Her hands trembled as she reached for her coffee. "He's not a consultant." "Not really. He lends money to desperate people at interest rates that would make a loan shark blush." I suspected something. "There's more." She pulled out her phone and scrolled through her gallery. "2 months ago, at your parents' anniversary party, Marcus left his phone unlocked on the counter. I wasn't snooping, I was looking for mine." She turned the screen toward me. Text messages between Marcus and someone named Diana. Explicit. Intimate. Damning. Can't wait until this is over. Once the house deal closes, I'm out. What about Vivian? She served her purpose. Divorce papers are already drafted. I stared at the screen. He's cheating on her. For 8 months, Marlene said softly. Diana is his assistant. Her eyes filled with tears. I wanted to tell Vivian, but I was scared. Marcus, he's not someone you cross. Does Vivian know? I asked. I don't think so, Aunt Marlene said quietly. She's so wrapped up in being the perfect wife, the perfect daughter. She doesn't see what's right in front of her. I leaned back, letting it sink in. My sister wasn't my enemy. She was another victim. She just didn't know it yet. Thank you, Aunt Marlene. I reached across the table and squeezed her hand. You did the right thing. She wiped at her eyes. I'm sorry I waited so long, Audrey. I'm so sorry. It's not too late, I said. Not yet. The nursing home smelled of antiseptic and fading flowers. Grandma Grace's room was small but filled with sunlight, the windows overlooking a garden that desperately needed professional help, my professional help. She looked smaller than I remembered, more fragile. But when I walked in, her eyes lit up with the same sharp intelligence I'd always known. Audrey, she said, reaching for my hand. You came. Of course I came. I pulled a chair up beside her bed. Grandma, I talked to Thomas Smith. Her grip tightened. Good. He's a good man. Why didn't you tell me about the trust? Because your mother would have found a way to take it, she said firmly, despite the weakness in her voice. You were the only one who never asked me for anything. Never expected anything. That's how I knew you were the one who deserved it. Tears burned my eyes. And the house, she continued. They made me sign papers. I don't remember it clearly. Everything was foggy. I was in pain. I know, I said softly. Thomas explained. We're going to fix it. She studied my face. There's something else. Something you're not telling me. I hesitated, then told her about the lottery. The $100 million. The ticket her own daughter had handed me as a joke. Grandma Grace laughed, really laughed. The sound was like rustling paper. Karma, she whispered. I always believed in karma. I'm going to buy back your house, I said. I'm going to make sure you can live there again. Whatever it takes. Her hand cupped my cheek. I don't need you to take revenge on anyone, Audrey. I just need you to be free. To protect what matters. I will. Promise me something. Anything. Don't become like them. Don't let the money change who you are. I kissed her forehead. I promise. Some promises are easy to make. This one, I intended to keep. 2 weeks after Thanksgiving, the Crawford family gathered again, this time for a bon voyage dinner before the big cruise. I was invited, not as a guest, but as help. Audrey, can you arrange the centerpieces? You're good with plants. Audrey, the caterer needs direction. Can you handle that? Audrey, make sure Grandma Grace's nurse knows we'll be gone for 2 weeks. I did it all with a smile. I played my part, the quiet, agreeable daughter they expected. No one knew about the lawyers working overtime on my behalf. No one knew about the LLC I'd formed to claim my winnings anonymously. No one knew that in 3 weeks, I would be worth more than everyone in that room combined. The dinner became a parade of self-congratulation. Marcus held court at the table, enthusiastically describing the cruise activities, snorkeling in Barbados, fine dining at the captain's table, spa treatments lined up for Vivian. Too bad you couldn't join us, Audrey, Vivian said, not sounding sorry at all. But someone needs to water Mom's orchids. I don't mind, I said with a smile. I hope you all have an amazing time. Dad clapped Marcus on the shoulder. This guy, best thing that ever happened to this family. Marcus met my eyes. His smile never reached his pupils. It was cold, calculating, like he was evaluating a business asset. Hey, Audrey, he said, leaning closer, his voice thick with condescension. Buy any more lottery tickets? Maybe you'll win $5 next time. The table erupted in laughter. I let them laugh. You never know, I said lightly. Luck has a way of surprising people. Mom raised her glass. To family. To fortune. To the Crawfords. Everyone drank. I lifted my water glass and took a small sip. 12 days. In 12 days, they would be in the middle of the Caribbean, and I would be ready. The morning they left for the cruise, I stayed home. You're not coming to see us off? Mom had asked the night before, her voice carrying that familiar accusation disguised as disappointment. I have a client meeting. Big project. She sniffed. Always work with you. Always work. As if I'd ever had another choice. As if they'd ever offered me anything else. I spent departure day in Thomas's office, finalizing the paperwork for my LLC. The money would clear within the week after taxes, roughly $62 million. More than enough for what I had planned. I was reviewing documents when my phone buzzed. Vivian. Audrey, something's wrong with Dad's credit card. It got declined at the port. Can you transfer $500? I'll pay you back. I stared at the message. The irony was almost perfect, the first time in my entire life Vivian had asked me for money. I knew exactly why the card was declined. The debt was catching up. Marcus wasn't covering it like he'd promised. The house of cards was starting to wobble. I typed back, calmly, I don't have $500 to spare right now. Ask Marcus. He's the financial consultant. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Never mind. We figured it out. I didn't ask how. I didn't care. What mattered was that they were on that ship now. All of them. Mom. Dad. Vivian. Marcus. Floating in the middle of the ocean for the next 2 weeks. I turned back to Thomas. How soon can we file the challenge on the house deed? Monday. I looked out his window at the city below. Somewhere out there, a cruise ship was sailing toward the Caribbean. And I was preparing my own kind of voyage. On day 3 of the cruise, I posted a single Instagram story, just me standing in front of Grandma Grace's house. The house that was supposedly no longer hers. The caption was simple. Home renovation project starting soon. I knew Dad would see it. He checked social media obsessively. It was his only way of knowing what his daughters were really up to. That same day, the local news ran a story, Mega Millions jackpot claimed. Winner remains anonymous. The report mentioned that the ticket had been purchased at a convenience store 3 miles from the Crawford family home. I hadn't planted that detail. Sometimes the universe just has a sense of humor. Aunt Marlene, bless her, brought it up in the family group chat. Did anyone hear about the lottery winner? Someone from our area won $100 million. They bought the ticket at that little Quick-Mart on Henderson Avenue. The very same place where Mom had bought my $2 ticket. The chat exploded. Cousins speculated. Uncle Barry cracked jokes about early retirement. Then I got a private message from Mom. Audrey, that lottery ticket I gave you for Thanksgiving. You still have it, right? I waited an hour before replying. Let her sit with it. Yes, Mom. I still have it. Why? Just curious. No reason. That emoji. She never used emojis unless she was nervous. An hour later, my phone started buzzing. One call. Then another. And another. Mom. Dad. Vivian. Marcus. I let every single one go to voicemail. By evening, I had 43 missed calls. By midnight, 79. The messages ranged from casual, "Hey, sweetie, just checking in," to frantic, "Audrey, please call us back. This is urgent." I turned my phone face down on the nightstand. Tomorrow, I would call them back, but on my terms, and with an audience. 79 missed calls. I counted them twice, just to be sure. The voicemails were a master class in emotional manipulation. Mom, attempt 1, Audrey, honey, it's Mom. Just wanted to hear your voice. Call me when you get a chance. Mom, attempt 7, Audrey, this is important. Please call back. Mom, attempt 15, I don't know why you're ignoring us. This isn't like you. Dad, attempt 3, Audrey, it's your father. We need to talk. Family business. Vivian, attempt 5, Audrey, seriously, what's going on? Mom is freaking out. Then Marcus, his voice smooth as ever. Audrey, I think we should talk about some investment opportunities. Family helping family, you know. Give me a call. I sat in my new apartment, a rental I'd secured the week before. Nothing fancy. Just mine. And I listened to every single message, letting their desperation wash over me like waves. They weren't worried about me. They were worried about the money. I texted Thomas Smith. Is everything in place? His reply came quickly, ready when you are. I opened the family group chat and typed a single message. I'll video call tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Everyone needs to be present. There's something important I need to share. Within seconds, replies flooded in. Mom, of course, sweetie. We'll all be there. Dad, looking forward to it, kiddo. Vivian, can't wait. Marcus sent a thumbs up emoji. They thought they'd won. They thought I was about to announce my lottery winnings, and then what? Hand them a check, ask for their guidance, let them take control. They had no idea what was coming. I spent the rest of the afternoon preparing. Organizing documents. Rehearsing what I would say. This wasn't revenge. This was truth. And the truth, as they say, sets you free. At exactly 8 p.m., I clicked join call. Their faces filled my laptop screen, crowded together in what looked like the ship's lounge. A tropical sunset glowed through the windows behind them. Audrey, Mom said, her voice dripping with sweetness. There's our girl. We miss you so much, honey. We really wish you were here with us. We do, Dad added. It's just not the same without you. The sincerity was almost convincing. Vivian waved from behind them. Hi, sis. You look good. Have you been doing something different with your hair? They had never once commented on my hair before. Marcus sat slightly apart, arms crossed, watching me with that cold, calculating gaze. Audrey, good to see you, he said smoothly. Thank you all for making the time, I replied calmly. I know you're busy enjoying your vacation. Family comes first, Mom said quickly. Always. Interesting choice of words. Dad leaned forward. So, we heard some interesting news. Something about a lottery ticket. I didn't flinch. Yes. I won. The silence was immediate and absolute. Then everyone started talking at once. Oh my God. That's incredible. How much? Audrey, congratulations. I let them wear themselves out. When the chatter finally died down, I spoke again. $100 million. Mom's hand flew to her chest. Dad's mouth opened and closed like a fish. Vivian looked like she might faint. Marcus recovered first. Audrey, that's life-changing money. You're going to need help managing it. Investments, tax strategies, asset protection. I already have a lawyer, I interrupted. Sure, he said smoothly, but a family member who understands finance. Marcus, I said, my voice steady. Before we talk about money, there are some things this family needs to know. His smile flickered. What kind of things? The truth. I shared my screen. Let me show you. The first document appeared, a loan agreement with Marcus's signature. This, I said, is a loan agreement between my father and Marcus. $180,000 at 32% interest. Dad's face drained of color. Where did you? And this, I continued, clicking to the next file, is the deed to Grandma Grace's house. Signed over as collateral. Dated the same week she was hospitalized, barely conscious from pain medication. Mom's mouth opened. No sound came out. That signature is shaky because Grandma didn't know what she was signing, I said calmly. My lawyer has medical records confirming she was heavily medicated. This could be considered fraud. Audrey, this is family business, Dad began. I'm not finished. I clicked again. Screenshots filled the screen. Text messages. Explicit. Undeniable. These are messages between Marcus and his assistant, Diana, I said. They've been seeing each other for 8 months. Vivian's face collapsed. What? I read aloud, my voice steady. Once the house deal closes, I'm out. She's served her purpose. Divorce papers are already drafted. That's not, Marcus shot to his feet, his chair scraping loudly against the floor. Those are fabricated. She's lying. Am I? I said calmly, then looked straight at my sister. Vivian, ask him. Look at his face and ask him. Vivian turned toward Marcus. Her voice was barely a whisper. Marcus? He didn't answer. He grabbed his phone and walked out of frame. Mom broke down in tears. Dad just sat there, stunned, staring at the screen. Here's what's going to happen, I said quietly. I'm using my money to pay off the loan and remove the lien on Grandma Grace's house. The deed will be transferred back to her, legally protected. None of you will have any claim to it. Audrey, Dad pleaded. We're family. Family doesn't steal from 90-year-old women, I replied evenly. And I'm not finished. I took a breath. I know a lot of you are probably cheering right now. But hold on, the story isn't over. If you've ever dreamed of saying what I just said to your own family, smash that like button. And if you want to know what happened to Marcus next, karma wasn't done with him. Keep watching, because what happened after this call? Even I didn't see it coming. I ended the call before anyone could respond. The last image burned into my mind was pure chaos of Vivian crying, Mom shouting something I couldn't hear, Dad sitting motionless with his head in his hands. Marcus was nowhere to be seen. My apartment fell silent. Just me and the fading sunset spilling through the window. I'd imagined this moment for weeks. I thought I'd feel triumph. Victory. Vindication. Instead, I felt hollow. Exhausted. Like I'd just run a marathon I hadn't trained for. My phone exploded within seconds, calls, texts, voicemails. I turned it to silent and placed it face down. Then there was a knock at my door. I tensed. No one knew I had moved. I peered through the peephole and saw Aunt Marlene. She looked as worn out as I felt. "How did you find me?" I asked after opening the door. "Thomas Smith gave me the address," she said gently. "I hope you don't mind." I let her in. She took one look at my face and pulled me into a hug. "You did good, honey," she said. "You did what none of us had the courage to do." Did I? My voice cracked. I just destroyed my entire family on a video call. No, she pulled back, holding my shoulders. They destroyed themselves years ago. You just turned on the lights. My phone buzzed. A text from Vivian. "I didn't know about Marcus. I swear I didn't know. I'm so sorry about everything. I need time to think, but I am sorry." I read it twice. Then a third time. "What do you think?" Marlene asked softly. "I don't know," I said, setting the phone down. "I don't know if she's sincere. I don't know if anything will change." "You don't have to decide tonight," she said. She was right. For the first time in 32 years, I had time. I had options. I had freedom. 2 weeks later, Thomas Smith called with good news. "It's done," he said. "The deed challenge went through faster than we expected. With the medical records and your Aunt Marlene's testimony, the bank agreed to void the original transfer." I let out a breath I hadn't realized I'd been holding. "So the house?" I asked. "It's technically still owned by the bank," Thomas explained. "Your father defaulted on the loan when Marcus stopped co-signing. But this is where your money comes in. I'd already made my decision. Pay it off. Whatever it costs. It'll be approximately $215,000, principal, interest, and legal fees, to transfer the deed cleanly into your grandmother's name." "Do it," I said without hesitation. The money meant nothing to me now. A rounding error compared to what I had. But what it represented, that was everything. "There's one more thing," Thomas added carefully. "I've drafted a protection clause. Once the house is in your grandmother's name, no member of the Crawford family, including your parents, can claim any rights to the property. Not during her lifetime and not after. When she passes, the house goes to you, per her original wishes before all of this happened." I thought about the crumpled lottery ticket. My mother's mocking smile. $2 to get rid of the inconvenient daughter. "One more clause," I said. "I want it in writing that my grandmother can live there for the rest of her life, with full-time care if she needs it, completely paid for and already included." For the first time in weeks, I smiled. "Thank you, Thomas." "Thank your grandmother," he replied. "She chose you for a reason." I hung up and immediately called the nursing home. "I'm coming to pick up Grace Mitchell. It's time to take her home." Marcus, of course, tried to control the narrative. "The screenshots were photoshopped," he claimed. "Audrey is mentally unstable. She's jealous of Vivian's success. She's trying to tear this family apart. That might have worked once, before social media. Before Diana. Diana was not pleased about being abandoned in the middle of a scandal. 3 days after the video call, she went nuclear. Instagram. Facebook. Twitter. Every platform lit up with photos of them together, restaurant receipts, hotel bookings, and intimate messages that made the ones I'd shared look tame. She posted her own video statement too, mascara-streaked, furious. "Marcus Pierce is a liar and a fraud," she declared to her 300 followers, a number that multiplied into the thousands within hours. "He told me he loved me. He told me he was leaving his wife. And now he's pretending I don't exist." Vivian filed for divorce before the cruise ship even docked. But Diana wasn't the only one with grievances. Within a week, 2 of Marcus's business associates came forward to the state attorney general's office, filing complaints about predatory lending practices. The interest rates he'd been charging weren't just unethical. They were illegal in 3 states. I didn't lift a finger. I didn't have to. The dominoes fell on their own. The following month, my father declared bankruptcy. The auto repair shop he'd owned for 30 years was gone, liquidated to pay off debts that had been piling up long before I ever found those papers. I felt nothing, no satisfaction, no pity, just a strange, peaceful emptiness. Karma, Grandma Grace said when I told her, sitting in her own living room for the first time in a year. I told you I believe in karma. She squeezed my hand. I squeezed back. Some things don't need words. 3 weeks after the video call, my mother finally called. I almost didn't answer, but something made me press the green button. Audrey. Her voice sounded like she'd been crying for days. Audrey, you've ruined us. No, I said calmly. Hello? How are you? Straight to the accusation. I didn't ruin anything, Mom. I told the truth. The truth? She laughed bitterly. Everyone knows now. Everyone, the neighbors, the church, my book club. I've been going to that book club for 18 years, and now they won't even return my calls. I'm sorry that's happening, I said. Are you? Her voice cracked. Are you really? You had everything. $100 million. You could have helped us. You could have saved your father's business. You could have. I could have covered up fraud, I interrupted, keeping my voice steady. I could have pretended Marcus wasn't a cheating predator. I could have let you steal Grandma's house. We're your family, she snapped. So is Grandma. Silence. Mom, I said quietly, I'm not blocking your number. If you ever want to have a real conversation, one where you acknowledge what you did, not just what you lost, I'll be here. But I won't listen to you blame me for consequences you created. You're so cold, she said. When did you become so cold? I learned from the best. She hung up. It was the last time we spoke for 6 months. Dad never called at all. I heard through Aunt Marlene that they'd moved into a small apartment across town. He was working as a mechanic at someone else's shop now. Mom had taken a job at a grocery store. I didn't gloat. I didn't feel vindicated. I just kept living my life, because that was always the point. Not to punish them, but to finally live free. The letter arrived 3 months after the cruise. Not an email. Not a text. A handwritten letter, 2 pages long on pale blue stationery. My sister's looping cursive, the kind I hadn't seen since she used to pass me notes in middle school. Dear Audrey. I don't know how to start this, so I'll just start. I'm sorry. Not because I want money from you. Not because I'm trying to get back on your good side. I'm sorry because I should have said it years ago, and I didn't. I knew Marcus had problems. I didn't know about Diana, but I knew something was wrong. I ignored it, because admitting the truth would have meant admitting that my entire life was a lie. I knew Mom and Dad treated you unfairly. I told myself it wasn't my business. I told myself you were fine. You were always so independent, so capable. You didn't need me to defend you. That was a coward's excuse. You were my little sister. I should have defended you anyway. The divorce is finalized. I'm starting over. I don't know what that looks like yet, but I know it has to be different. You don't have to forgive me. You don't owe me anything. I just wanted you to know that I see you now. I see what I missed for 30 years. I'm so sorry. Love. Vivian. I read the letter 3 times. Then I folded it carefully and placed it in my desk drawer. I didn't write back. Not yet. But for the first time, I felt something shift, like a door that had been locked for years finally creaking open, just a little. We met for coffee the following month. It was awkward and stiff. Neither of us quite knew how to be sisters anymore, but we were trying. And that was a beginning. Grandma Grace came home in April. I was there when the nursing home transport van pulled into her driveway, the same driveway where I'd skinned my knee learning to ride a bike, the same one where she'd always stood waving goodbye, growing smaller in the rearview mirror until she disappeared. She was smaller now, frielier. But when the attendant wheeled her up the ramp I'd installed, her eyes found the garden, overgrown, neglected, but still alive, and she smiled. "It needs work," she said. "I'm going to fix it, I promised. That's my specialty, remember?" I'd spent the previous month preparing the house, new accessibility features, a hospital bed in the master bedroom, round-the-clock nursing care on standby, the best of everything money could buy. For once, I had money to spare. That afternoon, we sat in the sunroom watching goldfinches at the feeder I'd installed. "You did all this?" she asked, gesturing at the renovations. "It's your house," I said. "It should be comfortable." She was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "Your mother called me last week." I tensed. "What did she say?" "She wanted me to talk to you," Grandma Grace said, "to convince you to come back to the family." "And what did you tell her?" She turned to look at me directly. Despite her age, her eyes were still sharp. "I told her that you never left. That family isn't about showing up for Sunday dinners. It's about showing up when it matters." She reached for my hand. "You showed up, Audrey. When everyone else saw what they could take from me, you saw what you could give." I blinked back tears. "I just did what was right." "That's the hardest thing to do," she said softly. "And you did it anyway." We sat together until the sun went down. No more words were needed. 1 year later, I barely recognized my own life. I still worked, not because I needed the money, but because I loved what I did. My landscape architecture firm had expanded, 2 new employees, an office with actual windows, and a waiting list of clients. Over the past year alone, I designed 3 public gardens. The lottery money sat mostly untouched, placed in diversified investments. I'd bought a modest house near Grandma Grace, nothing flashy, just enough space for me and the dog I'd finally adopted, a rescue mutt named Clover who loved to dig in my test gardens. The foundation became my real legacy. The Grace Mitchell Foundation awarded scholarships to young women pursuing creative careers, painting, music, design, anything artistic. Women from families who didn't understand them. Women who'd been told their dreams weren't practical, their talents weren't valuable, their voices didn't matter. Every acceptance letter I read felt like a small act of defiance. Take that, universe. Take that, every parent who ever said, "But how will you make money?" I visited Grandma Grace every day. Some days she was sharp, full of stories from the past. Other days she was tired, and we sat together in comfortable silence, watching her garden grow. "Your tulips are coming up," I told her one afternoon. "You planted those," she reminded me. "They're still yours." She smiled. "Everything good I have is because I shared it with people who appreciated it. Remember that." I did. I was living proof of it. The money didn't make me happy. It gave me options. Freedom from other people's expectations. Room to breathe. Happiness came from somewhere else entirely, from work that mattered, from relationships built on truth, from the simple act of being exactly who I was. People ask me about my family sometimes, where they are, whether we've reconciled. The honest answer is complicated. My parents live in a small apartment across town. Dad works as a mechanic. Mom works at a grocery store. They're stable but struggling, not destitute, but nothing like the life they once imagined for themselves. We communicate occasionally. Dad sends a text on my birthday, "Hope you're well. Love, Dad." I reply, "Thank you. Hope you're well too." That's the extent of it. Mom has never apologized. She's called a few times, usually to complain about her circumstances or hint that she could use some help. I listen politely, then change the subject. Sometimes she hangs up in frustration. Sometimes we manage a few minutes of civil conversation before the resentment creeps back in. I'm not ready to let them back in. Maybe I never will be. And that's okay. Forgiveness isn't something you owe to people who hurt you. It's something you give yourself, when and if you're ready. Vivian is different. We've had coffee together 6 times now. Lunch twice. We text occasionally, not every day, but enough. She's rebuilding her life now, new apartment, new job, and a therapist helping her understand how she ended up with someone like Marcus. We're not close. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But we're trying. I didn't realize how messed up our family was until I got out, she told me last month. I thought it was normal. I thought I was lucky. We both believed whatever we had to believe in order to survive. She nodded when I said that. For once, she didn't cry. Progress. As for Marcus, I don't know where he is, and I don't care. Some people don't deserve space in your thoughts. I've made my peace. I'm moving forward. That's enough. People always ask me the same question, did $100 million change your life? The answer usually surprises them. No. Not really. What changed my life was a moment, a single, crystallizing realization, that I had spent 32 years waiting for people to see my value. And they never would. Not because I wasn't valuable, but because they weren't looking. The lottery ticket was a gift. Not because of what it was worth, but because of what it revealed. The people who should have loved me only cared when they thought I had something they wanted. That truth was worth more than any jackpot. If you're listening to this and you're in a family that doesn't see you, I want you to know something. You don't need $100 million to free yourself. You don't need luck. You don't need permission. You need one decision, to stop letting other people define your worth. Set your boundaries. Walk away from tables where you're only invited to serve. Build your own table if you have to. The money gave me options, but the power was always mine. I just didn't know it until someone handed me a $2 lottery ticket with a smirk and thought they'd put me in my place. They did put me in my place, just not the one they expected. I'm Audrey Crawford. I'm 33 years old, landscape architect, dog mom, granddaughter, philanthropist. And most importantly, I'm a woman who finally chose herself. That's the real jackpot. Thank you for listening to my story. If you've been through something similar, share your story in the comments. I read every single one. If this resonated with you, like and subscribe, and check the description for more stories like this one. Until next time, know your worth, and don't let anyone hand you less.